We've all been there. New apartment, new house, maybe new TV. The living room is all set. Maybe that TV is even on a stand on a media console, but you can't help but feel like it'd just make the room look so much better if that TV was on the wall. TVs aren't light, really, and they're expensive, so it can be a bit daunting to think about attaching them with a few bits of metal to the wall. On top of that, what mount do you use? How much do they cost? Why are some of them so freaking expensive? Are you kidding me? Thing is, it doesn't really have to be that hard or that expensive. I just moved to a new apartment in Brooklyn. I bought a new TV and I started looking up mounts. I stumbled upon Echo Gear on Amazon, and seeing the price and the crazy amount of 5-star ratings, I decided to look into it. Turns out they even have a mount finder on their site, which means I didn't have to guess. I just put in my TV, it told me the options I had, and then you just decide, as you do with most mounts out there, which type of mount you want. Fixed for a slimmer look, tilt that allows you to tilt up or down generally, and that's usually used to get rid of glare or just kind of angle the TV a bit better, and full motion that allows you to tilt side to side, up and down, sometimes rotate it, etc. Once you know the mount for your TV, you need to first determine what type of wall you have. The three most popular options are drywall with wooden studs, drywall with metal studs, and concrete or brick. The procedure is basically the same regardless, with just differences in what you'll need. Things you'll need no matter what: a level, tape measure, drill, screwdriver, and a wrench if the mount has bolts instead of screws. Then, if you have a studded wall, you'll need a stud finder. Otherwise, if it's concrete or brick, you'll just need a concrete bit. And you don't need the stud finder since you can put it basically anywhere in the wall. And now for wooden studs, which is probably the most popular situation, the mount will usually come with the screws and bolts needed, so that's all set. If you have metal studs though, like I do and some newer buildings will, you'll just also need some toggle bolts. Now these go into the metal stud and then lock behind it to distribute the weight better, since metal studs are usually quite thin. Firstly, figuring out the height and centering on the wall. There's a ton of sites out there that tell you different inches, like 40 inches off the ground or 6 feet or whatever. Frankly, I think the best place for your TV is gonna be at eye level. And I mean eye level from wherever you plan to watch it from. So that means if it's from the couch, measure up to your eye level while sitting up straight on the couch, and that's where the center of the TV should go. And maybe even just a few inches higher than that, just to kind of make it a little more symmetrical on the wall, but that's about it. So long as it's a few inches off of your eye level, you won't have to tilt your neck up or down while watching, which gets really painful and is the main thing we want to avoid here. Once you have the height figured out, the general rule pretty much across the board for horizontally is to try and just get it centered on the wall. Now this might be a little different depending on your living room or wherever you plan to put the TV, but in my opinion, generally, this is probably the cleanest look you could go for. To do that, just measure the length of the wall and divide that number by 2. Then, using a pencil or something you don't mind drawing on the wall with, put a small dot at that point at the height of a few inches above your eye level, and that's where our TV needs to be centered on. And now we can find those studs. You simply drag the stud finder slowly along the wall until it lets you know there is a stud. Then continue to find another and another, just to confirm that it's accurate. Now, depending on the TV and bracket size, you might only need to drill into 1 stud. But what I found is that most brackets and most TVs require 2. So we'll find the 2 that are closest to our centered dot and mark where those are. One last thing we need to avoid before we start drilling are electrical wires in the wall for potentially painfully obvious reasons. Now, in most modern places, these metal conduits run horizontally about 2 feet from the floor to minimize the drilling that might happen to them. But sometimes you'll find vertical ones, and the stud finder might just think it's just another wooden stud. Thankfully, most stud finders have an AC indicator that will light up if it senses an electrical current inside the stud. If that happens, it's best to just find a different stud, unfortunately. You can also generally, but not always, find them by just looking at light switches and power outlets, as if they are running vertically, they'll be running along those most of the time. Once you figure out the studs and that there are no electrical wires in the way, we're going to focus on the TV for a sec. Most mounts come in 2 parts, a TV bracket and a wall bracket that just makes the entire process make way more sense than if they didn't. First, we attach the TV bracket to the back of the TV while it's laying face down on something soft. I used my rug. We don't want to scratch the front of the TV, obviously. The TV and the TV brackets will line up their holes, since we used a tool to help us determine the mount we needed, of course, and then using the screws it came with and making sure to center the brackets on the back of the TV. Next, we can focus on the wall. Now the EcoGear mount came with a rather cheeky drilling template that makes life a lot easier. If your mount didn't come with that, you'll have to simply hold up the actual mount against the wall to find where to drill, and I recommend having someone help you just in case. Regardless though, the idea is we need to line up 4 of the holes on the bracket, 2 on either side in this case, onto the studs we found with the center centered where we marked the center of our TV to go. You'll then mark these holes using the same pencil or whatever you used before, and we can put the drilling template bracket aside. Now, the fun part. We take our drill using the drill bit for our screw size and drill our 4 holes into the 2 studs for this particular mount. Once we have our 4 holes, we can put our mounting bracket over them and then put in the screws it came with for a wooden studded wall, or in my case, put in the toggle bolts and their screws if you have metal studs. Once that is snug to the wall, we can take the TV, again, 2 people recommended, to then hang the TV onto the bracket where it'll slide on. Once that's locked in place, you're all set. And there you go, guys. Hope that helped some of you mount a TV. Again, this will work regardless of what mount you got, but I used EcoGear, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. It worked well. It's a solid mount, and it's super cheap and has really good ratings. Anyway, if you want to check out the mount I used, click the link below to be taken to that. Otherwise, though, again, I hope this helped somebody somewhere. If you like this video, though, please thumbs up it or share it. It is greatly appreciated. And if you want more videos like this, please check out my YouTube channel. And if you like what you see there, please subscribe. As always, though, regardless, thanks for watching.